It's February 25th, 2020. I'm talking to John McAfee. So welcome to Potkaars. I have to explain Dutch. You don't know Dutch, do you, John? How's your Dutch?
Dutch? My Deutsch?
Dutch? No, the Netherlands.
Oh, no, not at all.
So this show will be called...
Ein bisschen Deutsch.
Yeah.
That's all.
No, we're not. So this show is called Potkaars. Typically, it's a pot with a candle. The idea with that is, so phonetically, it's a podcast, but it's messages of hope. People that want to do something, get out of the couch and make an effort. So I noticed you called for podcasts to do. My first question to you is, why?
Well, I have no trouble getting on mainstream media. But I stopped doing that 3 years ago because every time I'm on Larry King or CNN or Fox or something of this nature, it's useless. The format does not allow me, number one, to tell the truth because it's unpleasant enough that mainstream media does not want to hear it. It does not allow me to go into depth on things that must be gone into depth on if we are to understand them. Yeah. And that's what this gave up. So the podcast, it allows me to talk honestly and openly with another human being, yourself. Right now.
Yeah, without being cut off. So be able to do the longer story. So we set an appointment earlier and we had to reschedule. You called me now in London. I live in the Netherlands. I am in London. But this week, there's an extradition trial for Julian Assange. The United States wants him. Does that ring a bell?
Well, the United States wants me.
There you go.
The United States wants Kim.com.
Yeah.
It wants anybody that speaks out against the status quo.
So that would be my first question. So what is your take on the situation of Julian Assange and especially his outlook? Where do you see things going?
Well, I mean, they've laid hands on him now. At this point, he is helpless. His lawyers are helpless. You know this, I know this. You know how the world works. The governments have the power in the courts. Janice and I, we have a system called the grand jury system in America, where I'm not allowed to even know it's happening. It's a secret trial where only one side gets to give evidence, and that's the prosecutor. You can't be represented by an attorney, and you cannot even know what's happening. We found out about it just because I have friends in high places.
Well, the people following the Julian Assange case are familiar with this because his trial, the extradition request to United Kingdom for Assange focuses on the revelations that he did, or the publications that he did, by Chelsea Manning, the whistleblower Chelsea Manning, and she is in jail now for contempt of court. So because he didn't want to work with that secret grand jury process in the United States. So because he didn't want to testify there, she's held for contempt of court. So people following.
So it's the same thing. So really, if once they've laid hands on you, game is over. We'll never hear from Julian again.
Stupid thing here is in front of court. So I'm here just to see what's going on. I want to see if there's Dutch journalists here at all. And other journalists or politicians even, and
have you seen any? I mean, has there been much activity in the press or by the press?
I've seen it all now. Well, I can't get into court because I don't hold a press card, but I saw the press list, and there's one journalist from the Netherlands that was actually on the press list, and like all mainstream media channels, he was there only on the Monday. Now Monday was the day that the United States got to present their case. Today is Tuesday. The defense got to talk, so Assange was allowed to make his case. Nobody showed up. All the mainstream, they're gone.
That's how. See, that's the MSM. They're designed to keep the sheep calm and happy. All right. And the sheep are not calm and happy if they have new ideas, if they have new demands, if they have new insights or epiphanies into the way the government is in fact corrupt. Well, this gives unrest, and governments don't want that.
How
People
do you look?
like Julian and myself, Snowden, Kim.com, we just gotta live as fugitives, hopefully, and never to be caught. In my case, I'll never be able to come back to America. Good God, that's over for
Well, you are 74. You're entitled to retirement, right?
me. I wish I could. Listen, I keep telling Janice and anybody who will listen, but I have done my duty and I have served my time for you future generations. And I should be able to sit by some idyllic stream and fish, and drink wine, and eat cheese, talk to my lovely wife,
Yeah.
something. But no, it can't be done. Not if you tell the truth. The world will never let you be.
I've seen a bunch of these podcasts that you did over the last couple of months, and I see all these small podcast hosts like myself struggling to introduce you. I thought, oh, I'm not going to go down that avenue, but I asked I'm a father. I have a kid, 13 years old, so I asked him, "Ever heard of McAfee?" No, he didn't. Well, one of the reasons is people don't install antivirus software anymore these days.
No, of course not.
That's also come and gone. But I showed him one of the clips that you said on Twitter, where you were pumping the whacked token. You recall that thing? So that's an actual tattoo? You had that tattoo set here, or was? Yeah, okay, I know the sheet. But anyway.
Oh, you know what's it? Yes, it's on my arm.
I trust it. Okay.
Okay.
This is real. No worries. So now the thing is, I'm a journalist now, right? I do this. I try to find people that try to make a genuine effort and try to enforce their message. Before this, I was a politician for a couple of years. So you could vote for me.
In the Netherlands.
In the Netherlands, yeah, with the Pirate Party. Now you mentioned Kim.com. He's with the Internet Party. That's he was one of the founders there. They're part of Pirate Party International. So there's a link there. Anyway, I ran with the Pirates. We failed miserably, and that's when I gave up politics. But anyway.
Well, listen, even if you had succeeded, you would fail miserably. I mean, the system that is in place in this world today is so rigid that it doesn't matter who the president is. It doesn't matter who is in Congress. They're all puppets. And most of them don't even know that they're puppets.
Yeah, well, I'm the jury's still out on that. So I don't know what would happen if I were elected. But anyway, I didn't. So now I'm a journalist, see what happens there. But anyway, I showed that video of you with that whack tattoo. And he said, I know who John McAfee is now. He's a pirate. And I was, oh, well, no. He's more of a libertarian. That's what I said. Oh, it's libertarian. No. I mean, like a traditional pirate.
You're right. A traditional real pirate. That's true. That's what people call it.
He nailed it. I think he nailed it there. All right. So I want to take you through, Julian Assange situation, if you like, politics and cryptocurrencies, and your ambitions as with the Libertarian Party. So yeah, we're going to get to your McAfee DEX exchange because not so much to I will get to that when we get there. But I was wondering, are you up to speed technology-wise? So making myself an example, I was the guy installing the McAfee software back in the day. So I was in IT 30 years.
No, I'm as up to speed as anybody in this world. I mean, it's been my whole life. That's all I've ever done. Never had another job other than programming or managing programmers or designing computer architectures. That's all I've ever done. Yeah. So of course, if anybody's up to speed, it's me.
And I'm not. I don't even want to do it anymore. So it's
well, but I have to do it. I have to do it. It's too much of a powerful force in our society, in our culture, our economy. Okay. So I have to keep up. But yes, I keep up to speed.
If you go back in time, if you would go back in time to when viruses just came onto computers and antiviruses software was developed with people like you. That's not the threat that we have today anymore. I mean,
No,
malware is out there, but viruses that was a thing of the past. But if you look back,
right. That does not mean that there is not malware
no,
on your phone. I mean,
no,
that's
no,
not
exactly.
spying on you, because it is.
I want to get there. So back in the 80s, back in the 90s, was the level of interference, state-driven interference, to the extent that we see now, or is that something? How did that grow?
The state level of interference?
Yeah.
Okay. I was one of the first companies to be affected temporarily in 1988 or 89, maybe 88, by U.S. government refusal to allow me to sell my software overseas. And I got my lawyers involved, like it was going to kill me. How can I compete where everybody can sell the software to everybody, but I can only sell to America? So I won that battle. And that was the last that they interfered with me personally, but they interfered with everybody. And because anything that is a possible threat to the power of the government is going to be stepped on. Encryption, privacy coins, cryptocurrency.
Yeah. Hang on. No. We'll get to that one, because that state, the size, the scale of state in everything, that's increased, right? That wasn't there in the 80s.
No, of course not.
No.
That's what bureaucracy does. There are no shrinking bureaucracies in life. There are only expanding ones.
So were you politically active or aware back in the day? So when did you turn libertarian?
No. I never became political. I'm not political now. I mean, first of all, if anybody believes that John McAfee can be president, you need to wake up, move out of your mother's basement, because that isn't happening. I'm not doing this to be president. I wouldn't want the job. And if I had the job, there's nothing I could do to change anything. Our system is the problem. It's like a car with a frozen steering wheel. It doesn't matter who's driving, me, a derelict on the street, Trump, nothing will change until we fix the system behind it. So I'm running not to be president, but to be able to talk to people like I am doing here and now about the truth of my life and yours. Until you wake up to that, you can't change anything, because you cannot fix people what you cannot see.
So what are we going to do then? Crash and burn, or does it matter who's on the steering wheel?
Doesn't matter. Yeah, we are going to crash and burn unless we take responsibility for our own lives, which few people are now willing to do.
No, we'll only do that when we crash and burn. So I'm here with the protesters, and I'm bitching about my. I'm the only Dutch people. I'm the only Dutch guy here. Apart from the journalist on Monday, there's no Dutch protesters here. You know who's here? 150 people from France, the yellow vests. They came here by bus on Monday, and they banged the fences the whole day. So these guys know what they're up against, and they came to the support of Assange. And the Brits, well, a handful.
Wow, crazy.
The French were cool. All right, another question on a technical level. So we know why people started using antivirus software. It's because people started developing viruses. Back in the day, malware and such was visible, and now it is not. Does that have to do with my boy not knowing what McAfee is? Because you can't see and touch and see the effects of the malicious viruses and what have you anymore.
Well, antivirus software stopped working over 10 years ago, and I said it. I stood up out loud. That's why McAfee sued me, right? Because I was telling the truth. Doesn't work anymore. Ours doesn't. Nobody's does. The concept doesn't work. Nothing. Malware is not spread in that fashion anymore. It's spread when you buy your telephone. It's on the phone, in the chips, and we're discovering it every year. Oh my God, there's another chip built by someone in China or Russia that happened to be part of a sub package that was listening and watching us. the entire time. This is our problem today. That and the real hacking has moved from technology to social engineering. Much easier to hack the human brain and let that do the work for you in interfacing with your computer than it is to try to hack the computer.
Yeah, so that's another question, because we've turned ourselves, society has turned ourselves into consumers, right? Our data, that's the commodity. That's also fairly new. That wasn't the case. You couldn't make a business out of selling personal data back in the 80s, the way that they do now, right? So,
well, no, you couldn't. The change that I have seen has been, you would think it's been in technology, because Jesus, well, we started out without even monitors or keyboards, switching switches on the front panel of these massive computers. That's what I did. That's how I started, interfacing directly with the hardware, every switch being a bit and every line being a machine instruction that you coded in zeros and fucking ones. And I've seen it grow from that into computers that you carried in your hands. 1,000 times more powerful than the computers, the first ones I worked on, that took an entire room.
That's my disadvantage. So I'm not a programmer at all. I'm just I was used to be a system engineer or the security guy or those things. But I lack that interfacing with computers, and pretty much everybody lacks that, because these chips, and it's not just Chinese chips. I mean, it's
it's our own.
Yeah,
it's everybody.
Yeah,
you know, anybody who is a developer, a good programmer, a good software engineer, if they're bored or if they are angry at their boss or company, life itself can mess with us big time if they are properly placed in the proper corporations at the proper level. And that's what's ruling our problem today, from inside of companies that either knowingly as a company or unknowingly as a subject of a parasite.
I'm pretty sure it's knowingly. I talked to
some cases not. Believe me, some cases not. I guarantee you. And those are the cases where Russia, for example, infiltrates, let's say, Apple. Right? Very easy. You don't have to use a Russian-speaking person, for Christ's sake. Just have to use someone who's brilliant and will pass the entrance exam to get a job. You start there, and suddenly, yes, indeed, you got Russia controlling a very central part of Apple, depending upon the brilliance of the programmer.
I don't know this real-life example. I'm assuming this is a real situation that you're describing here.
Yeah, I didn't use the word Apple, forget Apple, but we place that. Yes, and you can look it up and see it happens many times. All right.
So, not to you mentioned Ed Snowden at the start of this talk. So there's a apparent difference of opinion between yourself and Snowden, where he went out and said, "Well, if you do it properly, encryption works still." And here's John McAfee said, "Nope, don't count on that one." So are you with Snowden on that? If you
No, Snowden is totally wrong. And he's just looking at encryption itself. Yes, because there are techniques that are unbreakable. But who cares? Do you understand? The architecture of our landscape has changed technologically. And here's how that landscape has changed. How do I?
No, it's true. I was looking for a laptop, and I'm looking for a motherboard that has a chipset that I can trust, and there aren't any for sale.
No, so you can't.
If you can't trust the hardware, yeah, exactly.
It's impossible. We're carrying around spy devices that we pay for ourselves. Think about it, right?
Well, let alone the phones. But if I want to buy a computer system that I would install a secure Linux on, the chipsets for sale, you'd have there aren't any that you can fully trust.
No,
anyway,
of course not.
It was lead. Well, yeah. Well, that's
yeah. So That's what happened. So protecting an environment which is known, like you've got the early 1886 Intel processor chip, very simple open architecture. You could all see nothing in there. Simple enough that you could see there's nothing in there. Take apart a chipset from a Samsung S10 and see what's in there. 1,000 programmers couldn't find malware other than by luck if they were looking for it. That is how the complexity of systems has changed, and why it is so easy for a single technologist to throw a monkey wrench into the entire works.
Even that could be changed by politicians by changing laws and making it mandatory for that to be open sourced in an understandable way.
But even so, listen, there's open source and there's open source. I mean, what does that mean? If you do not understand, for example, here's our code. This is another loophole that people use. Here's our code, there you have it. The code doesn't mean anything unless you give me as well the machine language that every instruction translates to. I'm sorry, but that's not part of our stuff, right? Listen, you're now trying to copy our machine. And they go, oh, okay, sorry. So you still don't know. Open source to what?
So not too long ago, so encryption basically, so the algorithms work. However, in order to implement them,
there's nobody in the middle anymore. No. Everybody's on the front and the back end. So let's say I want to send an encrypted message. You don't type it out in encrypted form. You type it out in your Dutch language or in English or whatever. The software and hardware is watching that. Yeah. On the other end, great, it got encrypted, but I can't read encryption. You must decrypt it for me so that I can see it or hear it. At that point, the software goes, thank you, decrypted. Doesn't matter what happened in the middle.
Yeah,
There's nobody in the middle anymore. Everything is on both ends. That's the fundamental change in architecture that no one seems to be getting. And therefore, people, we are focusing on a non-problem while the real problems are overwhelming us. So I disagree strongly, as he asked with Edwardson, strongly. But he's a younger man, he will learn.
Yeah, now you're underestimating him. I'm pretty sure he's aware of all the things that you just said. However, yeah, to get a secure communication working, that takes a specialist. And that's hard, all but impossible currently.
Is it now? I'm doing it. No one in this world knows where I am. We don't have phones with us.
Yeah, I was talking about secure communication. So I agree. Yeah,
I have it. Secure. The only security you're ever going to have.
Yeah, that's analog.
Where not what are you saying? It's not possible. Hasn't been for 10 years, never will be again. Yeah. That's not the issue. The issue is, can they physically lay hands on you? In order to do that, they've got to know where you are. And in my world, that cannot happen.
Is that a daytime job for you?
It's a full-time job for me.
Yeah. Yeah. So
to keep my location unknown. Yes, it requires massive amounts of disinformation. It requires an extraordinarily expensive network. Not one of these VPNs that you download from Google for $79 a year. No, I mean some serious stuff that simply can't be unwound. That's expensive, it's time consuming, and you have to stay on top of it.
Not just time consuming, it takes your energy, but you do take pride in escaping that still, right? In a way.
Yeah, to some degree. I mean, I would rather not have to take anything for it not to be there, if you understand.
Yeah.
But it is, and what pride I take maybe. I certainly breathe easier.
Let's go to another topic. So, private public key infrastructure, that would work. And basically that's the groundworks of cryptocurrencies. And you were plugging a Bitcoin a while back. You stepped out of that to promote Monero as a more privacy coin. Now, I can understand where you're coming from. However, now you're on a new coin. Marco, what you explain me?
Yeah, well, okay. Number one, keep in mind who I am and how I tend to relate to the world in as much a fun way as I can. Simultaneously with announcing Bitcoin would reach $1 million, I announced that I had been fucking whales, right, publicly, right, and that tweet went viral. Both had to be. Anybody with common sense would have seen the absurdity of both of those statements. Impossible for a human to have sex with a whale. Physically impossible, right? And not just physically impossible for Bitcoin to ever reach $1 million, but absurdly unattainable by any stretch of any imagination. Bitcoin's an old, dead technology. It was then, it is now. However, it opened the door for us and allowed us to enter.
So the way I look at your having sex with whales story is I've seen some of your interviews, and it is you explained it also earlier in other interviews. It's a way of getting people's attention, and once they're paying attention, you can deliver a serious message to them.
Yes, that's what it is.
But your adoption of Bitcoin, that was more sincere.
No, my adoption of it, absolutely not. Come on, if you take $1 million and multiply by 21 million coins, the market cap is greater than the gross national product of the entire North American continent. That's all of America, Canada, Nova Scotia, Iceland. Please, people, see the ridiculousness. Then, when people started actually taking it seriously, then I made sure that I explained why. So why is he going to reach $1 million? Because I used a mathematical system called point set topology, which predicts with 100% accuracy financial futures. And they're going, really? Nobody bothered to look up point set topology. Please look it up, people. It is a math discipline, but it explains the geography of surfaces, for fuck's sake. Can you get more absurd? And yet still people believe that. Well, then you're off on your own. But people are watching. When they started watching, what did I talk about? Privacy coins. Privacy coins.
Now,
privacy coins and distributed exchanges.
If you look at Lebanon currently, people are moving it. So in Lebanon, a Bitcoin goes for $15,000, where it's for you and me, it's like $10,000 because it's scarce over there because their currency is collapsing and their government is collapsing. So same as
these market fluctuations are absurd.
Yeah, market fluctuations, but once this happens on a global scale, that might push whatever is out there that feels safe, like precious metals or cryptocurrencies, to those levels.
It might, but that's no interest in any case. I don't care what the price of anything is. I want people to use these coins.
Exactly. So price is irrelevant. So, I didn't want to go there. But there's like two threats to cryptocurrencies that I want to explore with you. And one would be, it is decentralized. Cryptocurrencies don't know borders. And not too long ago, Russia had an experiment in what would happen if we would close the borders around the internet of Russia. And the way I understand is that they created their own DNS infrastructure, for instance, and worked totally isolated from the rest of
but listen, we now have a thing called unstoppable domains in the blockchain world that are blockchain based and can't be taken away from you, stopped, monitored, or controlled in any fashion. So Russia trying to close its borders to an unstoppable domain can't be done. Impossible. Yeah, so but in any case, the technology is what's going to determine the direction that we take. And the question is whether does the government pick up that technology first, or do we as the people do it?
Well,
we've been doing pretty darn well so far.
If we, yeah, that's true. We are catching up. So that's cool. But if the internet were to be compartmentalized, just like China with their firewall or Russia with their experiment half a year ago, that would hurt the first generation of cryptocurrencies, most likely.
Well, yeah, but it would hurt more than that. I'd worry more about the free flow of ideas and the growth of social interaction and technology and human comfort, safety, and health. I mean, Jesus.
Yeah. Now, the other.
We have time. We have time for one more question.
Oh. So the other. Well, let's wrap up on this one then. But the other threat to cryptocurrencies would be decentralized exchanges. So that's where your
yes.
Your McAfee.
No, but the threat is not to cryptocurrencies with decentralized exchanges. The threat is to governance. With the decentralized exchange, it's impossible to do a KYC or an AML. It's impossible to get anything, not even an email address. If it's decentralized, it's not restricted to anything whatsoever. Not an ID, not a location, no IP address. So it's the best thing that could happen for cryptocurrency. And the worst thing that could happen for governments who, among other things, want to collect income taxes.
Yeah, yeah,
or
try to get that threat out of the way if it's perceived as a threat. Now, the final question then would be, you came up with Ghost, like another cryptocurrency.
Well, okay. We'll be announcing it in more detail in the next few days. And it will be the first privacy coin on a decentralized exchange. It's a fork of another well-known privacy coin. That's all I'll say at the current moment.
Okay. Now, it was lead up to the question that is this. So when John McAfee back in the 80s saw his first virus code to say, "Ha, I see a business model there," and you were right. In marketing, the person that does something the first and puts in a lot of work, he's the winner. Mm-hmm. So how are you going to be the winner here? And because you don't appear to be the first in the cryptocurrency space, or is it something completely new? And how is it?
No, I won't listen. I'm just in the privacy and decentralized exchange world. Two things that can't be shut down if they're implemented properly by anybody, not by me. I can't shut down the McAfee DEX. Nobody can. It's structured on smart contracts on the blockchains. It can't ever be shut down. Do you understand the monumental shift in power that gives the cryptocurrency community?
Yeah, well,
it can't be shut down.
The way you're explaining it sounds like the way Kim.com is talking about his new products. So I see.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
I see the parallels.
Kim and I had a falling out a few years back, 4 years ago to be precise, over nonsense. So we don't talk anymore, not much. So I was not aware of that.
Okay. Anyway, thanks for talking to us.
Thank you for having me on. I enjoyed it.
Take care. Okay, take care, Joe. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Yes, we came, we saw, he died.
Every nation in every region now has a decision to make.
You think I'm joking? Predator drones. You will never see it coming.
Laat staan dat ik kan ingaan over vuur.